the old East Asian men and women in our valley.
Don't call it a cornfield.
They call it the jungle.
From a distance, it might look like any other vast, golden-green sea of crops stretching across the flatlands.
But up close, you understand. The stalks grow too close together.
Their leaves interlocking like a dense canopy. Swallowing the sunlight just a few feet from the edge.
The air inside is thick, humid, and unnaturally still.
It's a place that suffocates sound.
A place where you can get lost 10 feet from the road and never be seen again.
My grandmother, Elara, would never turn her back to the fields.
Even from her porch, a middle-aged Caucasian woman named Elara watched the corn as if it were a predator poised to strike. Her hands, gnarled like old roots, were never still. They would clench and unclench in her lap, her knuckles white as bone.
An East Asian woman with graying hair. In her late 50s, she'd seen the jungle metastasize.
Growing from a simple crop into the monstrous, sprawling labyrinth that now choked the valley. She spoke of it not as a plant, but as a thing, a hungry god with roots that reached into the town's very soul.
It's a debt.
And the payments are always collected. Always, in the quietest hours. When no one is watching.
It started with the whispers, she told me once.
The setting sun casting long, ominous shadows that made the Scarecrows on the road look like they were creeping closer.
A bad drought, back when my own father was a boy.
The fields were dust.
Then, one night, the wind changed.
It carried a sound from the corn, not just the rustling of leaves, but something more.
People were starving.
A voice.
It promised rain.
It promised a harvest that would save us.
According to the story, the rain came the next day. A soft, life-giving drizzle that turned into a steady downpour.
The corn began to grow at an impossible rate. But the whispers didn't stop. They became
presence.
Then the first Scarecrow appeared. No one made it. No one put it there. Its head was a burlap sack. Its face a grotesque parody of a grin, stitched with thick, black twine.
Its eyes were hollow, but everyone swore they could feel a malevolent gaze emanating from them.
It wore the tattered clothes of a farmer, but they weren't clothes anyone recognized. It stood there, arms outstretched in a permanent, mocking welcome. The whispers grew more insistent after that. They demanded guardians. They demanded sentinels to watch over the Pact.
The townsfolk, terrified but desperate, began to build their own scarecrows.
They copied the first one's horrifying design. They lined them up along the road.
Point A T-posing army of straw and burlap, standing vigil.
And the harvests were good. Too good. The town prospered. But a shadow hung over it all.
Children were taught never to enter the jungle.
Adults averted their eyes from the Scarecrows when they drove past.
And everyone learned to ignore the whispers.
I had come back to my grandmother's house after years away in the city, a journalist looking for a story.
I didn't believe in whispering corn or sentient scarecrows.
That changed one evening at dusk.
The air grew cold.
The rustling of the leaves began to coalesce into something coherent. It was faint, like the ghost of a sound, but it was there.
Give us another. The harvest is coming. A price must be paid.
A chill, entirely separate from the evening air, snaked down my spine.
A middle-aged East Asian female. I looked up at the line of scarecrows on the road. And I saw it!
The one closest to me slowly turned its head.
The burlap creaked. The straw inside rustling. As its hollow eyes fixed on me.
I fled back to the house, my heart hammering against my ribs.
Elara, a young adult Caucasian woman, just nodded when I told her, her face a mask of grim resignation.
They get restless before the final harvest. The jungle is hungry.
That night, a storm broke. It wasn't a normal storm.
The wind howled, with a voice that was no longer just a whisper.
It was a chorus of demands, 1,000 rustling voices crying out from the jungle.
Lightning illuminated the fields, and in the strobing flashes, I could see the Scarecrows.
They weren't on the road anymore. They were moving through the outer rows of corn.
Their stiff, jerky movements terrifyingly unnatural. Some were at the edge of the yard, their dark forms silhouetted against the frenzied dance of the corn stalks.
Alara locked the door.
And drew the curtains.
The Pact must be honored. It always is.
She told me every few years, someone would vanish.
Shortly after, a new Scarecrow would appear in the line. Through the window, I saw a figure stumble out of the corn. Point lit by a flash of lightning. It was old Mr. Abernathy.
He moved like a puppet with its strings cut.
His limbs flailing. He collapsed onto the wet ground not 50 feet from the porch. As he fell, the Scarecrow standing nearest to him, one I hadn't noticed before, jerked upright.
Its slumped shoulders straightened. And its head lifted, as if sniffing the storm. A silent sentinel, taking its post. Abernathy was gone. His essence paid as a tithe to the whispering god in the field. When dawn broke, the storm was gone.
The Scarecrows were all back in their places along the road, perfectly still.
Their stitched grins, catching the morning light.
But I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my soul,
That there was one more than there had been the day before. The corn stood heavy on the stalk. Ready for the most bountiful harvest in living memory.
I left that day.
I never wrote a story.
Who would believe me?
But I can never forget.
I can never forget the sight of those silent figures guarding the road.
Or the insidious sound of the whispers that still echo in my nightmares.
Point promising prosperity.
At a terrible cost. Unspeakable price.